So as I'm talking, I'm going to have pictures just behind me so you guys can kind of feel what it's like to be there. So just to start, it was just a little bit of our beginning of our journey. So as you can see, yeah, sorry about, it's going to be like that the whole time. So just be aware. So there's Donna and I, our suitcases, and then just kind of a little bit of Ireland. So
A little bit of that.
a little bit of Ireland. Some of the food, you know, why not? I'll share about what's going on in these photos, but just to start, last week, Rod was talking about Acts 21, and that's kind of the main verse I'm going to look at this morning. If you guys, this will be the one time you flip. Sorry, friends. Still getting the technical difficulties. I'm always back there. I'm never up. I'm always back there. I'm never up here. So this will be interesting, especially with this microphone. Maybe I clip it further down here.
Yeah, maybe.
There we go. Good. Okay, so Acts 21:17 is what we're going to look at. And it's just going to set this tone for where we are today and what I'm going to talk about with the story. So he says, when we had come to Jerusalem, the brothers received us gladly. On the following day, Paul went with us to James, and all the elders were present. After greeting them, he related one by one the things that God had done among the Gentiles through his ministry. And when they had heard it, they glorified God, and they said to him, "You see, brother, how many thousands there are among the Jews of those who have believed. They are zealous for the law, and they have told you," and that's kind of where it ends. They have told you about you and that you teach all the Jews from among the Gentiles. Anyways, so the biggest part, we talked last week about how Paul's nervous about, he's going to Jerusalem. Maybe Paul's not nervous, but his friends are nervous. But we kind of stepped back, and Rod and I talked on the phone this week, and we were like, wait, the very beginning of that is when we had come to Jerusalem, the brothers received us gladly. And that was just kind of what stuck with Rod, and it stuck with me. And when he called me, I said, actually, I do want to teach. I do want to share about what we did on this trip, because that's exactly what we talked about at church on Sunday, was that we went and they received us gladly. And so along our trip, there's many different stories that I'll be sharing with you guys, but the overall theme was just that God's present in all these other countries and in our lives and in their lives. And just to get to share like stories is huge. When you get to sit with somebody for coffee and they get to share their story with you, when you get to just go and hear someone's story, and if you get to share your story, our testimonies are so important in all of our lives, and it impacts everyone. And so I've gotten to learn that all of my life. Keena reminded me this morning that the reason Donna is such a big impact in these countries, and the reason that we sit here together as a family, is because you get to share life together and get to share stories, and we ask questions about each other. We say, what's going on in your life? What's happening in your life? And I get to share how I can, give you advice, or I get to share how God's worked in my life through moments like that. So that's just a little bit of how the theme of this whole story is going to go. So we start with Ireland. Which is kind of random, right? Ireland and Armenia, everyone asks why. You're like, honestly, I don't know. There are a few hours difference from each other. There's a few flights in between those two. But Ireland was always part of my young life journey, and Scotland and all of the UK. Just when I was little, I always was like, I want to go. It's beautiful there, right? And it's like, Ireland, everyone wants to go to. And it's just gorgeous, green hills and everything. But there's just this strong pull in my heart. And so in 2019, just a little bit of backstory, I went to a camp in Scotland, and it's Young Life run camp, and they bring kids from, they actually have kids come from all over Europe, because they have the United States military kids come for like a couple of weeks, but then they have kids from all their clubs in Wales, in England, in Scotland, in Ireland, Northern Ireland. They all come to one camp in the summer, and so I got to meet a ton of these people. And so it was kind of my side of Young Life story that I got to share with Donna, and then Donna gets to share Armenia with me later. And so I just was like, why not? Why not go somewhere fun, get to show her this world, because they're really dear to my heart. There's a couple, Craig and Sonia Malini, that I'll talk about. They started Young Life there. So that just was where I was just led to say, Grandma, let's go have fun. Let's go see this. So, and this summer, actually, the girl in the middle right here, her name's Teniola, and it was so random. As you guys know, I worked at a random summer camp this summer that Zach's girlfriend's parents own, and it was a really hard summer, but the beauty came out of it was meeting this girl. She's from Ireland, and so random that she's from Ireland, one of my favorite places in the world. And she was just on fire for Jesus this summer because of how I would just sit with her in our photo little office and just chat with her about God. And I would wear these shirts that said, what would Jesus do, or redeemed, or I'd have all these shirts that I was like, I know that God's calling me to share Jesus with these people that may not know him and are very against him. But I know that that's what I need to stand on. And she was like, I can't believe people do things like this. This is incredible. Like, I can't believe you actually are willing to just stand in front of people and say, I love Jesus. She's like, this is amazing. But I was like, but that's God. That's who I am. I just want people to know his love, his grace. And so that built our friendship all summer. So it was beautiful. She was available, and we were in Dublin for a day, and we were like, why not go get dinner with you? So though she's not in Young Life, we got to encourage her and encourage her to continue. Like I said, I was going to come visit you, and I visited you. You know, you say something and then doing it is like very different things. So just physically showing up and encouraging others is something that Grandpa Tom and Grandma Donna have taught me all of my life. That's something, they've gone on a million trips to all these different countries. And their ministry is truly just showing up and saying, hey, I care about you. I want to know you and your story. And the light in these people's eyes is just astounding. So we had this really cool contrast of Ireland that doesn't know Tom and Donna, just knows Emily. And Emily's influence between Tom and Donna and how I've learned from them. But they're like, okay, we'll receive you. We don't really know what you have for us. And then in the end, it was really cool to encourage them. And then you have the contrast of Ireland at the same time, or Armenia, where there's this like many years, I think like 10, 15, 20 years of love and joy. And I think this was Grandma's 4th or 5th trip to Armenia to just visit and get to know them. So Ireland, this is where we started. We got to do a lot of sightseeing, which was really cool. And this picture in the middle is honestly one of my favorite, despite it not being taken on my fancy camera. I took a million on my camera. But that moment right there was the entire trip. And I could tear up just thinking about it, because I would take pictures of this, and I would take videos of her this is Donna holding onto my arm. We would just slow down. I want to go in every trip I do. I plan. I become so type A. I'm very type B in my normal life. But when I'm like working on school, teaching, and I'm wanting to plan something I'm super passionate about, I plan every second of the day. But this was our entire trip. I just let go and let God, and like some of the songs this morning, it's just like, God, to you be glorified. I just want to be sacrificially here for you. I don't want to plan a million things that won't matter to us in the end. I want to just be here and walk alongside Donna. And so that's one of my favorite photos. I have a bunch of them, but that one right there was just such a sweet moment of we're just walking. That morning, we just took an hour of our day. We were waiting for the bus, and we missed one on purpose because we wanted to walk around this park and she looked at the leaves and she's like, wow, these leaves are huge, and looked at all these beautiful things of God's creation, and it just reminded me to slow down. So in all the pictures that I took, they just are big reminders to you and to me. I wanted you guys to feel what it felt like to slow down and look at the door and look at the light. And she would ask me, she's like, when we're walking the streets, what do you look at? And she's like, I'm looking at people. And she sees people. She looks at and she tries to figure out what their story is. And this person walking by has a baby, and oh, that's so sweet. And she's like trying to piece together their life story. She has no idea who this person is. And I go, well, I look at that too, but I look at like how the light reflects on things, because I'm taking pictures in my mind. And so I got to take a bunch of pictures that I don't normally. I went on this trip with my friend. We did 2 weeks before I went to the camp in Scotland, and we just zoomed around. We went to Wales, we went to Ireland, we went to Northern Ireland, we went to Scotland. It was just like this crazy whirlwind, which was beautiful also to get to see quickly, but to slow down in life, sometimes God just like calls us to slow down, take a breath, take a beat. And so that was one of my favorite moments. And that was this is a view from one of our Airbnbs. And this, honestly, I was like, this is just the light coming through, because we're just standing there and we're just looking at the world around us. The light's coming through the fence. So that was just part of like how I got to see and slow down. We got to get over our jet lag while we're just kind of slowing through this trip. But one of my favorite things about slowing down with Grandma was just that I got challenged by the fact that every day we started our day at noon, which is just wild. You just go, you're in another country, you're starting halfway through the day, but it was beautiful because she sat there. She woke up every morning at 7 a.m. and she had her Bible out in front of her. And we don't leave the house until noon, because she's sitting there for 2 hours every single day with her Bible and with this massive stack of prayer cards. Every time she's on the phone with somebody, we sometimes in life will say, oh, I'll pray for you, pray in that moment, and then walk away and maybe forget, right? Sometimes we'll remember, because we'll be like, okay, I need to pray for this person. It's a super big, super important thing. But if it's like sometimes those little things, you're like, okay, yeah, I'll be praying for you. And then we forget. But she sits there and she will write it down. She has little cards. She'll just write it down and she'll remember. She'll remember what to be praying for every single person. And she has notes galore. I wish I had a picture of all of her notes, but it felt very intrusive to take a picture of her prayer cards. But if you can picture in your head just this paper that's kind of tattered, falling apart, but it's got all these little tiny writings around all these different faces, because she has faces of people, and she wants to remember whose face and who's this person and this person. And so I said, God, it's okay. We can start it again, because this is way more important than what Emily wants to do. It is more important for me to get to sit next to this amazing woman who loves you so deeply, she wants to be praying for each and every person she knows. So, honestly, that was Ireland. I just sat there and I was like, I don't understand how I'm here. I don't understand how I get to be here with this woman, and how amazing and pure-hearted she is for God. She just wants when we walk into a restaurant, we leave, we say thank you, right? All of us, we say thank you for your service, or thank you for whatever that person, the server did, or the coffee, the barista person did. But she goes, God bless, every time, no matter what. No matter if it's a Muslim, no matter if it's just a random person, and no matter if she's had a conversation with that person, she'll say God bless. And those are just some of the beautiful little pieces of what I got to sit on as a fly on the wall with her in. And so in Psalm 96:3, if you guys want to turn there, it's just a quick verse. He says, if I can put it, declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous works among all the people. So not only are we getting to declare what God's doing in Ireland and Armenia here in a minute, I'll share with you guys some of the stories, but she's declaring in her small little Bible studies, even just to me, or even just to every single person she says God bless to. And that was just, I felt like I get to be walking alongside Paul, and just as I'm doing my Bible studies this week, thinking about Acts 21 and just thinking, because we have, you know, the TV show The Chosen, so we're getting to kind of like picture what the world in that time looked like. And so I just think about some of those times, like when they're getting to sit at like the wedding of Cana, or just I'm picturing The Chosen in this TV show, but I'm getting to picture what it felt like for you to sit in the room with Paul. And Paul, it's a quick sentence that he's sharing these stories, but what stories was he sharing? How long, how many hours did he share that they were like, wow, glory to God. This is incredible what you've done. And I'm just like sitting back, I'm like, wow, I got to see a little picture of what that looks like. I got to see what it's like to sit in the room with the people in Ireland and Armenia. And so here's one of the rooms that we got to sit in. This was a beautiful moment, one of my highlights. We traveled from Dublin to kind of the north west side of Ireland. So there's Northern Ireland, and I should have had some maps and pictures, but so you've got Northern Ireland, which is a chunk at the top of the island, and then the rest is just the Republic of Ireland. And Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but Ireland, Republic of Ireland's its own country. So you've got these two very separate kind of worlds of things. One's very Catholic, one's very, like, trying to be very Protestant, and there's clashes, and I'm sure you guys have heard in the past of the troubles that they've had up there. But I planned this entire trip up till Belfast, which is where we got to go meet people. And I said, God, your will be done, because I don't know, I'm not getting texts back, I'm not getting phone calls back from people in Ireland. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm kind of stressed, but I know you've got it, and I know you've got the plan for this. But we have nothing planned for 2 days in Belfast. And I said, Lord, you do your will. But we're going to have fun with these other few days ahead of time, and then we're going to show up in Belfast, and I don't know what it's going to look like. And so we show up, and we meet with one of my friends for dinner that night. She's not in Young Life anymore, which was another thing of where I was like, it doesn't matter if you're in Young Life or not, we're still going to love you and still care about you. And so I got to meet her. She was one of my work crew kids at camp. I was intern over guest services, and then there was summer stuff, which was like college-aged kids, and she was work crew, so she was still kind of like in high school, secondary school for them. I want to say she was like 17, 18 at the time. And since then, we've kind of texted a little bit here and there. I said, I'm going to visit you, I'm going to visit you, I'm going to visit you. And then I was there. And she was like, I can't believe you're here. Like, this is crazy. And she's kind of off of not really going to church, not really dating a believer guy. But I said, I'm here for you, and I love you, and I want to encourage you. And so I got to share grandma with her. We got to have dinner with her, which was awesome. And I don't know what God's going to do with that. And that's up to him. I just got to be a vessel and got to walk in his shoes and say, okay, I love you, and we're going to pray with you, and we're going to pray for you, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. And even hearing from the Young Life director, he was like, yeah, she's totally been MIA. We don't really talk to her much. And I was like, all right, but we still love you. And so that was cool just to get to have those moments. And then from there, it was cool just to get to hear on text, I guess, not here, but I got a text saying from Craig, who's the director. He's like, hey, by the way, tomorrow morning, this is like the evening, we're at dinner, tomorrow morning there's a staff meeting. Would you like to come? And it's in Bangor, which is 20 minutes away. And I said, yes, absolutely. I was hoping you'd text me. I was hoping we get to do something. He's like, I don't know what to do like with the middle of your day, but here's what you can do in the morning, and we're definitely having dinner in the evening, so there's going to be this gap, but at 9:30 in the morning, if you guys want to come and meet some of our staff members, you can. So we go, and this is the room. This is their office / a couple of their areas actually have club in here that are the smaller areas, but a lot of their areas are really big because they've been, Young Life's been there since 2010 in Northern Ireland. So this is just, there's some rooms in the back, conference rooms, but they just sat all around here, and I just thought it was really cool to share that with you guys, that this is just one of the many rooms we got to be in. And so it was just amazing. We just sat there and they're talking about camp's going to start next summer and what weeks, we want to go to camp and all these just beautiful, fun stories. And we get to hear their fun accents and we're like, this is really cool. And just hear about what's going on over there. And they shared a little bit, but then they just had a normal staff meeting. We just got to hear from, I think there was like 25, 20 people in the room. And then they shared just a little bit with us right at the end when they wrapped up. We got to chat with a few different people, and there's actually a couple of girls there that are interning with a church in the area, but they're from like Ohio, and they just happened to get called to Northern Ireland, and they're like, I don't know, we're going to Northern Ireland, I guess. And so they're just getting to do half with Young Life and half with this church. Because one of the biggest things over in Ireland is that it is so religious heavy, which is kind of flipped opposite of what you would think of like Armenia and Ukraine, where everything's like don't have religion and we don't want religion around, and you kind of have some countries that are pretty fearful with religion. But there, the churches are like, no, we want you to be in our churches. We want you to be a part of this. So it's kind of an interesting within that, that even with COVID, it's actually spurred that on even more. So there were some areas that were like, no, we don't want you in our church, we don't even want you in our school. But because all their schools are either Protestant or Catholic, they're all associated with a church. And so you have to go through the church to get to the school, which is how Young Life reaches young youth students. And so they said with COVID, the schools were actually way more, and the church is way more willing to let them in. And so they're seeing this crazy rise in being able to be in the schools because of COVID, which is kind of opposite of what they're like, we're actually really grateful for COVID. And I said, you don't hear that very often. Not very many people say they're grateful for COVID and what it did, but they are so thankful for it. So it was just kind of cool just to hear and meet with them, and it just helped strengthen my faith alone, and just knowing the importance of showing up and being a part of what God's doing, even if we're just getting to sit there. And a lot of them were like, why do people from America want to come to Ireland? Like, why did you pick Ireland? And I was like, well, because I love you guys and I want to be here and I want to hear about what you guys are doing. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat like, what's going on here? And how's God working? How's God moving? And hearing all these stories, I was like, God, you are moving, and this is pretty cool. And so from there, it ends at 11, and I have no idea what we're going to do in the middle of the day. I said, we'll probably go like to a park somewhere or something, because we're a half hour from our hotel, so you could drive back, but then you're coming back for dinner, and that's like during rush hour, so really you just want to stay in that city, is what they said. And so we all of a sudden were like packing up, and Craig comes up to me and he goes, hey, our Capernaum director is here. He's just now starting Capernaum, and Capernaum is the special needs Young Life students. So they've had Capernaum in the past, but it's been kind of student leader led, not necessarily a director that knows how to work with special needs kids and how to like kind of develop this in all the areas. And it's just been kind of randomly as people have passions for it. So he's like, hey, do you want to go to lunch with us? And we were like, okay, sure, yeah, let's walk down the street and go to lunch. So we got to go to lunch and hear all about how he's his heart for starting Capernaum, and he actually left a really good paying job as a special needs, I don't know what their specific title is, but it's just like they're in one of their Catholic or Protestant schools, he was like the head of their special needs kids. And kind of getting all the teachers what they needed and all their parents what they needed, kind of thing. So he was like helping the school within that. And so it was cool just to hear that. He's like, no, I left that because my heart was called to how can I help bring Jesus to these kids? Because they're kind of in their countries it's not the greatest programs like we would see here in America, where every kid matters. Don't leave a kid behind. You want every kid to have every last little bit and drop. But they're all I see is they're like just these rooms that are empty, and they just put the kids in there for the day, and then they some of them get help, some of them get one-on-one attention. But a lot of them, they're struggling unless you're going to a really, really well-off, good school. You'll get one-on-one attention. And so this pulled on my heart, as you guys know, with my cute little brother. So I was like, I really want to know more about this and hear more about what you're doing, and especially as wanting to be a teacher, I just was like, what goes on in other countries? And so hearing his stories from there just continued to light my heart for that. And I said, this is amazing, this is awesome. I got to share a lot of our really cool stories of how we've seen growth through Gage and all the things that he's gotten to learn and grow in. And so he was really encouraged that he's doing the right thing and that he left a good job for the right thing. And I was like, that's just because I love these kids, and I love teachers, and I love getting to hear that kind of side of things. So that was really cool. And then right after that lunch, we get texted saying, hey, I just happened to plan all of my DGL students, which is the Developing Global Leaders, which is exactly who Donna loves and prays for in all the countries. There's 55 in the Middle Eurasia, which is the former Soviet Union countries of Ukraine, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, all those countries. She prays for 55 of those leaders. And they're these students that within Young Life you can become a DGL when you go to school and you're going to college, and you get a scholarship to also be a leader. And you kind of get elevated, and you're not just a leader, you kind of also help lead the leaders, but you're not quite the head director of your club, but you get to help kind of develop those clubs. And so that's the Developing Global Leaders. They want to create these leaders that can be global impact, and they can go start their own club somewhere eventually. And this lady, Allie, she just happened, of all the days, of all the hours, I'm like, God, you were so good. She happens, she can't get them to all agree to a time. And all of a sudden the time that she had agreed earlier in the week was these 4 hours that we had between lunch and dinner. And she just was like, I put them back to back. I don't normally do that. She has first years and third year students. And she was meeting with the first year, and she's like, hey, if you want to come over to my house and meet them, you can. I said, absolutely, sign me up, we're coming. So we go, and we get to go meet all these guys right here. And it was beautiful because a lot of them, all but one, were at camp. They were campers the summer I was at Scotland. And they all say that summer changed their life. And that was 6 years ago, and now they're in college. They were 16 at the time, and now they're in their 20s and they're in college, and they're all going to school. And this girl right next to me right here, Katie, I remember all their faces. It was kind of crazy because in Scotland, you only have I want to say 100, 200 kids every week. And you really get to know them and their faces and know who they are and know their story and see them around. And Katie, I remember seeing her at camp, and I had seen her on the website ahead of time, and I actually was as we're going, I'd love to be connected financially with somebody, and I picked her, and her story, she's 2019 changed my life. She's I was not a believer, I did not know God, and I changed my life, and I've wanted to shout his name from the rooftops ever since. And so it was just fun. She's I walked in the door, she goes, hi, Emily. And I was because she knew that I had donated just right before the trip, but she also knew and remembered me. She's I'm Katie, and I'm I know you. She's I do have a twin, so you probably remember us because there's two of us. And I was no, I don't even, she's my twin was Molly, and I'm no, I remember Katie, I remember your name, and I remember your face, I didn't even remember you had a twin, I remembered who you were. So that was really sweet moment just to get to sit in the room and hear how, because Allie ended up doing like a Bible study with them and talking with them. They do all these different like teachings and lessons, so we just got to sit and fly on the wall and listen to that and listen to how they're growing in their faith. And so then on this side over here, oh no, that's a bummer. Here, let me bring that down because he's very important to be able to see that face. There you go. So over here, so Allie's right in the middle. Allie actually spoke at camp that summer in 2019. She was one of the speakers, one of the sessions. There's like 3-week sessions, 3 different weeks of campers, and she spoke for that session. And then there's Craig and Sonia Mawhinney, and they're the catalysts. They're the ones that began Young Life in Northern Ireland. They heard about it, and they wanted to bring it over to Northern Ireland. And their heart is just immense and huge. And when I left camp in 2019, the next summer, Sonia gets the job of the regional director of all of Ireland, Northern Ireland, UK. So it's Ireland and the UK. So she flies all over the world now to learn more about how they can grow and develop their country. And then he's the director of all of Northern Ireland, because in Ireland, they're still just kind of developing it. COVID kind of took a pause in how fast it was growing in the Republic of Ireland. So there's only like 1 or 2 clubs. And so it was just cool to hear their story. We got to sit at dinner with them that night and hear a little bit of their story. And I have this Young Life podcast here in the middle, because I want to say in like 2018, he shared the Young Life story of Ireland, if you wanted to listen to it. And it's really cool, and actually I'm going to play a little bit of that, because it was really cool what he said. Obviously called Ascending Place, which is what we're talking about, is being sent out to the world and sharing the gospel. And here's just a little bit so you guys can hear his voice and his story a little tiny bit.
Well, what was it about Young Life? What was the hook to you where you said, this is what I'm called to do with my life?
Yeah, it's quite long, depends how long a story you want. It was an interesting journey. So in one sense, I'd say that my wife and I, Sonia and I, have been doing youth ministry together for a long time. And actually, and I think I've said this before at different platforms, I was doing Young Life before I knew to call it Young Life.
Oh, wow.
In teaching youth ministry and in practicing youth ministry, we always had relational ministry at the heart of what we did. Programs were useful, but it wasn't the heart of our ministry. It was building authentic relationships with kids. So when the opportunity came, and that's an incredible God story really in and of itself, but when the opportunity came and I was asked to think about coming on staff, it really wasn't to do anything very different from what we were doing, except that all of a sudden we had lots of people around us who got it, because, look, we often find, are we weird? So why does nobody else get this, that actually these young people are the most important people here, not the programs, but the young people, and then all of a sudden we're surrounded by everybody. Oh yeah, we get that. It was such a relief that we weren't crazy, but also to have that support.
Yeah.
I think the big moment in terms of just our personal journey on the staff came, we were invited to go to Lake Champion on the adult guest program, the camp, in summer 2009, and we were there with Tom Hammond, the regional director at that time with the UK and Ireland, and Tom treated us relationally, Tom and his wife Nini, and so we got to know them really well, and I saw the integrity, particularly of Tom.
Yeah, so he's just talking about how relational, Young Life is, and how relational we all can be, He didn't care. He continues to go into how they got to see the camp and all that, but the biggest turning point he talked about with us, a lot of that exact story he shared again, just that the turning point for them was that it's just so relational, that we're here to be encouraging to each other, and we're here for each other. We're here to have a relationship with each other. That's all God calls us to do in this life. So that was just a little bit of the Young Life journey of Ireland, and we got to end up the next day. We're leaving, and we're gonna leave in the evening to Frankfurt, then to Armenia, but we also get to have lunch with the area director in the Republic of Ireland. And I forgot to put his picture up there, but Connor was at camp also. Most people that I got to see were at camp as either a camper, summer staff, or some sort of fashion, because they're just so, if you're in Young Life, you're in it, you're solid, you're here, this is your family. Because that's what it should be like as Christians, as followers. You know, you're like, you're my new friend, we're gonna be friends forever. You know, you're connected. And that's what we're called to as brothers and sisters. So it was really cool to get to see him. He's now since fallen in love, gotten married, and so him and his wife, and mostly him, he's the director, he has started Young Life in Republic of Ireland, and it was really cool. He just so happened to be meeting with one of his DGL students that morning and said, hey, do you want to come with me and meet these random crazy American people that we don't really know, but you want to go meet them? And she was like, sure, let's go. And we just went to a mall and got to just go sit at a mall food court and just hang out with them, but it was so amazing. And by the end of it, he was like, I understand why you're here now. Like, I didn't know how important it was to hear your story and then get to share my story. Like, I feel so encouraged. I feel like I have this new passion and new fire to continue what I'm doing, because all of a sudden these random American people really love what I'm doing. What I'm doing. It's not just a day-to-day job. It's actually like impacting the kingdom even across the world in Idaho. And these just random two people that wanted to hear about my story. So it was cool to hear him say that. And then he even said, and Donna got it on video, which I didn't add, I should have, but he said, if it wasn't for the DGL program, there would be no Young Life in the Republic of Ireland, because he got to be a part of the DGL program, and he had this passion and this heart to start Young Life in his area of Maynooth, Ireland, which is just a little bit outside of Dublin. So he's kind of like, he says Dublin, but it's like Maynooth, so it's like 20 minutes away, which same thing with Northern Ireland, they're like Belfast, but it's Bangor. So that was beautiful. So we end up running to the airport because we're a little bit, you know, we've really stretched our time with him. We're running to the airport, we get to the airport, get to our flight, and we're like walking on the plane, and they say everyone off. And we're like, wait, what? We weren't even on the plane yet. And they're like, off. We got a delay. We're like, oh no, we only had 50 minutes to switch flights in Frankfurt. And all of a sudden, we're delayed almost 2 hours. And so we're completely missing our flight in Frankfurt to Armenia. And we go, okay, God, what do you have for this? Well, what he had was Frankfurt. He said, Grandpa Tom got to go to Frankfurt without Grandma Donna many years ago. And it's the only city in the world that he's been without her. And we got to walk around and see what he got to see and where he got to buy Christmas presents. And I just was like in awe the whole day. I said, how did we get 24 hours here? We get to see what God had Grandpa Tom see. And as some of you know, Tom passed away like 3 years ago. And every year, Grandma and I decide to go travel, not on purpose, but over his heavenly anniversary. And so it was just beautiful because I'm stepping into his shoes and I don't know how to do it. And I don't know how to go on this trip and step into his shoes and share in the way that he shared, because he's incredible with his words. He was incredible all of his life with the way he spoke and the way he made everyone feel so important. And that's why Donna and Tom are so incredible, and this legacy is huge. And I'm crying for that reason, because it was just amazing just to be in his shoes for this trip and last trip to Moldova, and just to get to watch and see what he would have seen. But for him to say, hey, I'm here with you, and I'm on this trip with you, and you're not stepping into my shoes, but you're carrying my legacy. You're not becoming me, but you're getting to continue what I've done. And so it was just really cool. So sorry I'm crying. But Tom and Donna have huge impacts on my life, because they are the reason God has such a huge impact on me, because I know what it's like to have relationships with people and knows what it's like to say Jesus is not just a religion, it is a relationship with Jesus. It's a relationship with your brothers and sisters. It's a relationship with people you don't know. So in Luke 10:20, it says, "Rejoice that your names are written in heaven." And so that just reminded me of just that. Our names are written in heaven. Tom's in heaven. He's written in heaven. He's in heaven. He's rejoicing that he gets to share that with us. So we just got to wander around because Armenia only has one flight in like every day. And that flight was what we missed. And so we had to wait an entire day because it was a 9 p.m. flight and we had to wait an entire till the next 9 p.m. flight to fly in. And we were just like in awe of that. We missed a club, but we got to see another club the next day in Armenia. And so as I was just looking at my notes, God's presence isn't just in the big mission work, it's also in those small tender moments of just getting to hear Tom say, "You've got this, and I know you can do this." So that was just my favorite part of getting to see Frankfurt. And honestly, I feel like I took a picture of the shop because I was like, I feel like this is what he walked into, or this is what he saw. Because he brought home all these like Christmas presents from the like Christmas market there. And I just saw that and I was like, wow, okay, Tom got to touch and feel and be here as well. So that was a sweet moment. And then we arrive in Armenia the next day, a day later, but it was still just as beautiful. So this is a picture from the city. Oh, it's a little blurry. I don't know, sorry. Biggest piece is just that mountain up there. That's Mount Ararat, and as you know in the Bible, Noah's Ark landed on Mount Ararat is what they say. And so it was just cool to get to see that, get to see the city. Technically, Mount Ararat is in Turkey, but they still claim it as their own. It's all over Armenia and everything. They They're like, this is our mountain as much as it is Turkey's mountain. So we got to, and just this overview of the city just makes me, all the different stories we got to hear. We went from house to house to house to house, from stories of people that Grandpa Tom and Donna impacted lives way back in the past. There are people that aren't in Young Life anymore, which is another like crazy theme, because we're getting to see Young Life, but we're also getting to see people that we still love and care about, because they're people. They're not just Young Life, right? They're not just a part of this one family, it's part of the big family. And so we got to see all these really amazing people and hear their story. There was one family that we got to visit with. Grandma didn't know until we were on the trip, but they have so she knows their 11-year-old son. She's made a baby blanket for them. She quilts for tons of these people, sends quilts around the world all the time. We brought a quilt with us. But I think, I don't know, Kina, like 300 quilts she's done in her life. It's a million. It's crazy. So she just, every time there's like a wedding in Young Life or a baby or a graduation or something, she will bring a quilt, or a DGL student that really impacts her on their blogs. And so they have this like, I think 11 or 13-year-old kid that she knew about, but on this trip she finds out that they had another baby that they'd been praying for 11 years. But not only that, we walk in their house, there's 4 kids. We're like, there's 4 kids. Where did all 4 of these kids come from? Well, they also adopted 2 kids, 2 girls that were 18 and 20, or 16 and 18 now, 18 and 20, because along that journey. And that was just such a cool moment, because I got to share with them about when we adopted Gage and saying how impactful that has been with our life, and as the youngest kid, how impactful it'll be for their kids, and what that looks like continuing forward. And now they've got these beautiful girls to get to help with the new little baby that they're all so excited about. And so it was just beautiful. Grandma's like, we've been praying for years and years, 11 years they've been praying for another baby. And they finally got 3. 3 other babies, but older ones too. So that was cool. And then we got to go to club, and these pictures don't even
Emily, their faces.
walking into this room, this little lady in the green, Donna, is a celebrity in these rooms. But she's only a celebrity because of Jesus in her. She prays for these people, and they know it. They feel it. There was this girl, Annie. She saw Donna and knew exactly who that woman was walking in the front door. She walked up to her and she said, I'm one of the DGL students that you've been talking to on the blogs and that you've been praying for. And Grandma goes, I know you. And how's your family? And what's going on with this? And what's happening with this? She knew her story. She didn't just like read it and say, okay, cool. She reads, because they all have to, all the DGL students, because they have sponsors and scholarships, they have to post answers to questions on the blog every, I think it's like 4 times a year or something. And they don't know who reads it. They're like, I don't know who's reading these blogs, who reads blogs anymore, who's doing this, is any of my donors doing it, or are they just like, just jumping past her, do they even know they exist? She makes them know that they exist, and that the time that they've taken to write their story out is so important that she writes back to every single one of them every single time. There's 55 blogs. Every like 4 times a year or more. Anytime that they want to post on the blog, they can post, but she responds to every single one, and she makes sure, she checks her list. She makes sure every single one is commented to, and that she knows their story, and that's where that tattered piece of paper comes from. She has their printouts of their faces on this paper for every single country. She prays in rotation for each of the different countries on different days, and she writes next to their faces what their story is, or what they're praying for, or what's going on in their lives. So she knows them. And so throughout the whole trip, she kept going, okay, your name is this, I've been praying for you, but your nickname is actually this. So there was a guy named Havana or something, which is kind of cool, but he goes by John. And it was cool, she was like, oh, that was my husband's name, and so then she was connecting all the dots and things, and so it was just really cool, just that these girls would not stop. The guys were like watching her across the room. The girls were just like on top of her, just like, where is she going? What's she doing next? How can we show her our club? This is like a celebrity to us, but she's only a celebrity because of Jesus, right? She's only truly shining God's glory in what he's doing in their lives. And so they're like, this is incredible. And the girl on the far right, she's a new student in Young Life, and she has accepted Christ. She's kind of become a part of all this. She's gonna be a leader eventually, but she's only been in Young Life for a few months, and I just got to sit and talk with her, and I said, how is your English this good? Like, I think of everyone I talked to, she had the best English. And she goes, I have no idea. And it was beautiful because it reminded me of last year in Moldova when I got to talk to another girl where we got to just sit and like be relational and ask questions about their life. And she's like, I have no idea how I know this good English. It's just Christ. Like, God's just here, like sharing my story, and you're just able to understand it somehow. But we chalked it up to, social media in this day and age. We say it's horrible and terrible, but she was like, honestly, I watch so many videos in English because that's all that you see on social media is just like English TikToks or English Reels or different things. And she's like, so I'm just getting to hear English constantly, or I'm watching TV shows. And you're like, we see those things as bad things all the time here in America. We're like, social media, horrible, or just binge watching TV is terrible. But for them, they're like, no, this is how I learn English, is getting to be on social media. So that was really cool. And then this is just some videos of club that night and it happening. They were playing like a donut game. And then this guy in the middle got to speak. He was a student, turned leader, and now area director that Grandma has been following like all of his life. So that was really cool. And then truly, the rest of these are just pictures of Donna being Donna, just sharing life, and I'm bummed that those are getting cut off. Another family that Grandma has prayed for since these little boys were non-existent. This girl, the mom, she got to be at one of the very first camps in Armenia. She was one of the very first club kids. And she got to go to camp before they had this incredible Young Life camp. And then she got to go to what we got to see here in a minute. She got to go to Pioneer Camp when it first opened. So, even more, Donna being Donna, loving on people, they had this event where it was the very first night and start of their, what Armand wanted to do with all of his leaders. He's like, I don't want you guys just to be leaders and just like within your own leadership groups, learning about God. I want you to be learning about God. I want you to be disciples. And so he started this Young Life Excel, I think is what they called it. It was kind of hard to understand what the translation, but I think Excel. And they said, Donna, will you cut the cake with us? And so you see all these arms, and there's even more, and I couldn't quite get like all the arms, but you can see like everyone's cutting the cake with Donna, and I was like, that's such a beautiful picture of this matriarch of Young Life almost, of creating these conversations. And then this girl in the end, she was one of our translators, and one in the middle was a translator, and so it was just cool just to get to chat with all of them. And here's the group from that night of everyone that came together. And then Armand, who we got to stay with, who is the regional director, he's over here. That's who we got to hang out with the whole time. And then here is what Donna and Grandpa prayed for a very long time, was this camp, and that they would have this opportunity to be at camp. So we got to go walk around with these guys. And then here's just some more pictures of just what camp looked like now. Donna saw it in tatters. There was nothing there. When Grandpa and her were there, the bridge was actually destroyed and out. And so, but this is really beautiful. This is actually in one of their like extracurricular like rooms where they play ping pong and stuff. And that's like one of their first trips. And Tom and Donna are right there in the middle. And they have this on a massive big poster in the middle of the room. And I was like, that's beautiful. They're like, we know you're a part of all this, getting this started, getting this camp bought. And so there's just little bits and pieces. This is the room where they have club, where they get to share about Jesus. It's closed up for the winter. So they brought in all the chairs and stuff, but this
Those are
is...
from Full Community Church.
Oh, the chairs?
Literally.
Oh,
Do you remember those?
I didn't remember that. That's awesome. Yeah, Cole Communities chairs. See, it all comes full circle here, guys. Here's another view from clubs to your side over here. So that room I just showed you, and then this is when you're looking down the hill towards camp, because it's at the very top is the room where they talk about Jesus. And then this is that room where the picture of Grandpa Tom is, and Grandma Donna. And these are panoramas, obviously, so they're like kind of weird stretched. But this is their dining hall, where they have dances and they have just full of tables and things. And sorry, it's a little blurry, but. And then our final night, this is the last little bit I'm going to share with you guys, but these are some of their DGL students. So we took a picture of each of them, and then I took a video of them talking, just sharing their heart with Grandma. And Grandma's like, is there anything else you want to share with me? Is there any details or things in your life that you want me to be praying for? So they got to share a lot of that with her. And that was just a beautiful moment where it was just a night for Grandma, just a night to hear their hearts and hear what's going on in their areas and their clubs. And then this was one of the big moments where we got to bring this beautiful, beautiful girl, quilt. She had no idea. Grandma just picked her out of the many students on the DGL list. And she's a PE major, so she wants to be a PE teacher. And Grandma Donna was a PE teacher, so she just picked her out. But this girl does everything. She is a worship leader in club. She was leading worship the night that we got to that big picture of all those people, the Young Life Excel. She was leading worship that night. She's leading worship in church. She's constantly, like Lilit and Armand, who we stayed with, that are the regional directors, Lilit was like, of everyone, there's like hundreds of people, but she's like, of everyone, I'm glad you picked her. She's the one I would have picked for this quilt. And I'm so glad you get to bless her. So it was random, because she wasn't at the night before, because she was not feeling well. So she met us the next day, which was sweet, because we got to spend the day like shopping around in this little square, which you can kind of see behind us. She was there. And then this was another little family. The lady on the far right was one of our translators, and another one of the ladies that Grandma prays for. I mean, there's so many people. It was just like constant people that she knows and loves and prays for, and people that wanted to see her. And I know we didn't get to see everyone. And then we got to go to church worship the night of Grandpa's anniversary, which was kind of a beautiful story of like wrapping up. It was the very last night we were in Armenia, and it was also the night of Grandpa's anniversary, and so it was cool. We got to go to their worship night. Oh yeah, here's a little bit of one of their songs. Hear that?
That's my favorite one.
I know, I don't know if you can
It's
do
so
that,
good.
but
It's so good.
I wish I wanted to have my notes up here, but I couldn't have the cord at the same time. And then this is our travel home, and just what a crazy adventure, and then to run into some of these crazy people right here. This is, here, I'll pull that down. Caleb, so Rod's son Caleb, his mother and father-in-law, and his sister-in-law just ran into them randomly in the Seattle airport. We were walking out of customs, and they're like, "Hey, wait, you just got off your flight? We just got off ours." So that was fun. We're like, "Okay, God, this was all you in the midst of all of this."
God loves us.
God loves us. And then I got a really cool poster from my little brother that was so sweet. So, in all of this, I just want you guys to take away that no matter where we are, it doesn't have to be all the way over in Ireland and Armenia. Relationships are super important, and being relational with people and sharing Christ with people, no matter if you're just saying God bless as you're walking out of a store or something, or you're just smiling at somebody, or you're getting to sit and have coffee with somebody. People's stories are important, and it's very encouraging for people that you want to know their story, and you want to know who they are and what they're doing in their lives, and continuing to pray and actually truly praying for them. So there you go. Sorry, that was a little long.